Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to season 11, episode 13 of Tap to Craft podcast. I am Denny Luce coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Kris McKenzie. How are you doing tonight, Kris? And of course, tell us what's in your glass and also introduce our guest.
Yeah, most definitely. So it's been a busy off day. So didn't really get to have an off day, but it's all right. But I'm enjoying some beer from out your way, Danny. Having some
Oh,
Spirit Animal Hazy IPA
oh, Mother
today,
Earth.
but
Yes.
it's appropriately in my Florida pint day glass. So,
Okay.
West Coast beer in a Florida glass. And this evening, we are chatting with Mr. Wayne Wambles of Griffon and Sphynx Brewing out in North Carolina. Wayne, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks, you guys. Really appreciate it.
Sure thing. So, Denny, what's in your glass this evening?
Wait a minute. Aren't you going to ask Wayne what's in his glass?
Oh, he said he didn't have a beer.
Oh, that's right. He did say, never mind then. He's waiting for dinner still. Well, then I'll go with mine. I have a short memory already, but I'm drinking something from Washington State, one of my favorite breweries, Reuben's Brews,
Oh,
one
those
of my
guys?
favorite beers from them. Roasted rye IPA only comes out in the wintertime. And I was lucky enough to, grab 4 pack of that before it was all gone. I got the last 4 pack, and what a great rye IPA. Um, Reuben knows how to brew some great beer, and they know how to, do a great roasted rye IPA. So I'm enjoying that. Wayne, have you experienced any Reuben's brews when you were out on the East Coast there? You already,
Not, but roasted rye and IPA sounds fantastic for a
yeah,
winter seasonal.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's nice to see. I'm a huge fan of winter warmers and Christmas ales. I love that. I can't wait for that season to come, and I just enjoy them. I mean, some people say Oktoberfest is their favorite season. I love that season too, but it doesn't match up to my winter warmer season because I love those big, malty beers. I love rye in my beer, and that little toastiness with the rye and the IPA is just wonderful.
Well, we
Along
have
with
both winter and fest beer on tap right now at the brewery, but we'll get into that later.
all right, wow, you like it's always festival in North Carolina. So, all right. Well, Wayne, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get this show started. But before we get too far into it, you always want to let anyone new listening to Tap to Craft know what we're all about. We are an educational podcast focused around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 273, recording on Monday, January 6th, 2025. Yes, the first show of the new year.
Yeah,
And
Happy
we
New
are
Year.
Yeah, happy new year, everyone. And we are live on Facebook. If you'd like to join us during our recording session sometime, you can do that on the Monday prior to release at 8:30 Eastern time. And in this episode, we're going to learn all about Wayne Wamble's personal craft beer journey, as well as how he ended up brewing the owner and the brewery owner at Griffon and Sphynx, as well as some great conversation. And let's get this conversation started by learning about Wayne's craft beer journey. So, Wayne, this is your personal craft beer journey. We always like to hear about your origin stories of how you found craft beer or how craft beer found you. So, how did you discover craft beer? And what was your gateway beer?
The gateway beer, I think, was Bass Pale Ale
Oh,
back
wow.
in back in like the mid '90s or so, maybe maybe '94 or so, something like that.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I just thought all beer was supposed to taste bad. But
Exactly.
that was actually the first beer that tasted actually decent. But I got deeper into it and actually discovered craft when Hurricane Opal came through. I'm from Southeast Alabama, so I was living in Southeast Alabama, and Hurricane Opal came through and knocked the power out for like 3 or 4 days. Um, so no one was going to work, and we're basically sitting around playing Magic the Gathering cards. And a friend of mine he was in a craft beer club, so he was getting like 12 bottles a month or something like that.
Okay.
I remember him bringing beers over and sharing them while we're playing Magic the Gathering cards. And I just started thinking, man, now this is really fantastic. These beers are just amazing. And that was, my introduction to IPA and
Oh, okay.
pale ales and different things, American made ones. And then shortly after that, I joined the same club that he was in. And another thing that was kind of impactful on my experience was the limitations in Alabama. So you could not get a beer that was over 5.9% in the state of
Mhm.
Alabama.
Wow.
And this really limited my learning experience about different styles of beer. So this ultimately put me in a situation where I started to realize if I wanted to learn about other styles of beer, I was either going to have to go out of state and find them, or I was going to have to start brewing them and
Mm.
then figuring out, like how these certain styles are supposed to taste. Like I never had a Hefeweizen before until I made one, for instance.
Oh, really?
First one I ever had was one that I made, and having never had one, uh, when I drank it, I thought this I did something wrong. That
Yeah.
I must have done something extremely wrong when I made this. But no, it was actually a good example of style, and that yeast obviously produces isomalt acetate and phenols, and that's what it's supposed to taste like.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I got into craft beer.
Yeah. How did you find out that, like, when you first drank it, you mentioned something's wrong. I must have contaminated something. It doesn't taste right. What resources did you have back then to find out that that was the actual style guideline, or style, characteristics of that Hefeweizen? Was there, because we didn't really have the internet back then? Uh,
Fortunately, my roommate at the time had family in Germany, and he had
oh,
drank Hefeweizen in Germany. And when he
okay.
had it, he was like, "This is exactly what it's supposed to be like." But if it hadn't been for him, I just would have thought I was a massive failure and had screwed something up.
Yeah.
What a lucky coincidence.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
worked out good. Which is kind of what you needed to have back then. You either needed to have someone that knew about it, or you needed to be able to go somewhere that knew about it. And I guarantee they probably didn't have very many home brewing. Well, I guess you had to buy home brewing equipment and stuff. So you must have had a home brewing shop nearby to be able to brew it.
I did not. So all my
Oh,
home brewing supplies were bought from Narragansett Homebrew Supply, and
oh,
at the Rhode Island, I think, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Somewhere
I
up
was
there.
buying from them for a while, and I didn't find a more local shop until at least a year later, and I discovered there was actually a shop in the Panhandle of Florida. So I was
Hmm.
having to order from them. There wasn't an opportunity to go in a shop and actually look at raw materials or look at
Yeah.
any sort of devices that you could use for home brewing. So I had to learn all about all of that in books.
Wow. That's the best experience, is just going and digging in and finding it for yourself. That's the way I like to learn too. I like to figure out what do I need? What am I trying to do? And how do I do it? And just research it. And then once you research it, it sticks with you a lot more, and you get a better understanding of the whole process. That's great.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne. So do you have a favorite beer style or even a go-to beer if you're just gonna keep something in your fridge?
Well, lately I work so much that it's usually if I'm drinking beer, it's usually my beer.
Mhm.
But I will say that this past year's celebration was absolutely wonderful.
It was good
Um,
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the best I've ever tasted from them. But as far as my preference for styles, I'm pretty open. And I think at this point in my life, but when I was younger, I will say like when I started getting into my earlier commercial brewing days, I was really centered on IPAs. Um, but my preferences have changed over the years, and I've gotten to the point to where I really enjoy any well-made beer.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But and the way I differentiate them is it's either hop forward or malt forward. Um, I think that's the easiest way my brain separates them. So I either feel like one or the other, and sometimes I feel like a combination of both. Um, and it just all depends on my mood.
Yeah. All right. Well, how about a style that when you first tried, you really didn't like much at all, but as you progressed in your craft beer journey, you learned to appreciate it and you actually grow to enjoy it. Is there a style
I
like that?
mean, I think I could say that about multiple styles because, it's about learning what that style is supposed to be like.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of think it's odd that I liked Guinness Extra so much when I was younger because it's such an assertive beer, and it has such a highly assertive roasted malt character. And it's a beer I won't drink today, unfortunately, because every time I buy it, it's just ridden with diacetyl, and I just
Oh,
can't
really?
tolerate diacetyl. Um, it also has that little bit of sourness to it.
Hmm.
I was fine with all that stuff when I was in the ignorant days.
Now you're gonna make me. I don't buy Guinness very often anymore, but back in the '90s when I would travel with work, a lot of times, craft beer hadn't grown. It was in the beginning of the growing stage as far as getting more beers out to bars. You still had all the big production American beers on, and then some big beers from overseas and Canadian beers. Like you said with your Bass, a lot of times we gravitated towards things that came in from outside the country for being a different beer style than we're used to drinking here in the States. And mine was one of them was Guinness. I did enjoy Guinness, and I could get it at every single bar I went to. There'd at least be one Guinness tap on. Now, whether it was good or not, you don't know how clean the lines are or whatever. I will say that in Ireland, I really enjoyed the Guinness, but it's being brewed in Ireland and probably a lot more fresher there. I think a lot of the Guinness we get here in the States is being brewed
The
either
Northeast,
in the Northeast.
yeah,
So maybe there's a problem with the with the breweries up there in Maryland.
Yeah, it's in Baltimore. That's
Is in Baltimore? Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I've been there. I was there before it opened. But it used to be a barrel storage facility or a distillery or something because they had a ton of barrels in one of
Mm.
the buildings while I was there. I was brewing with Heavy Seas at the time, and that's why I
Oh,
was in Baltimore. I was doing a collaboration with them a Cigar City employee.
okay. Was it did it have a canon name to it? Something Have you seen those loose cannon, right? They're the ones that do
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So a lot of times they'll do a play off of the cannon and they'll be so I didn't know if they did a cigar cannon or I don't know,
It's
something
been so long I can't remember the name of the beer, what the name of the beer ended up being.
yeah.
Yeah, but when I was in Ireland, I drank a lot of Beamish, and I
Oh
highly
yeah.
preferred Beamish over Guinness.
Yeah.
And once I discovered Beamish in Ireland, I would not drink Guinness again.
Yeah.
It was just that good. And Murphy's is also really good.
Yeah, Murphy's
I
is
would
good.
drink that when I was in Ireland.
Yeah.
Sad thing, you can't get Beamish in the U.S. or not in the state of North Carolina, but you can get Murphy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about Guinness and diacetyl, I don't get it from the nitrogenated products. I get it from the bottles that aren't
Oh.
nitrogenated. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
just so you know.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know.
And that's your new word for the day too. Nitrogenated.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a
nitrogenated.
good one. All right, so let's see what's on our next one. So Wayne, is there a brewery or a beer other than Griffon and Sphynx beers that don't get enough love? Maybe a brewery that you see locally, one that you know somewhere in the country where you're just like, hey, it's a sleeper, but go check them out if you can get it.
Uh, I don't know if it's don't get enough love, but I think that I think Green Bench in St. Petersburg is a really great brewery, and uh, Kris used to work for us um, when I was at Cigar City, and I think he's just really found himself. He's done such a great job with making hop forward beers, lagers, and mixed culture. He's really
Oh,
diverse
nice.
at
Wow.
what he can do,
Yeah.
and I don't think you see that very often with other breweries that can do all those things well at the same time. So, you know, I don't know if they're, I mean, I'm guessing they're pretty well respected, but if people out there haven't been to Green Bench, the next time they're in Tampa, St. Petersburg, they should definitely check them.
Yeah, most
Oh,
definitely.
yeah. I mean, I've heard of them just because of the podcast, because Kris is there, and we have listeners that are able to drink Green Bench. But yeah, I think that's a perfect one to let people know that when they come visit Florida, that this is a brewery you should check out. So that's good. Okay, last question for you on the personal beer journey. Is there a brewery, a beer, or a style that is no longer around that you wish would make a comeback?
Oh, Um, well, it's already making a comeback, I guess. But one of the beers that we brew at Griffon and Sphynx is an Irish red ale.
Oh yeah.
But it's and that was those were pretty big in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're seeing in some cases they're seeing a reemergence. And I really like ours. Out of all our beers, it's the one I probably drink the most of.
Yeah.
And ours is a little bit different than traditional Irish red ale. And it probably would not do well if I entered it into a competition because there's a little bit too much roasted malt in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sounds
when
good to
you
me.
Yeah.
when you get to the finish, the roasted malt dries your palate out,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you want to keep drinking it.
Yeah.
Um, it's not heavily over roasted, but it's more than what you would see in style guidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that you're right. That's a style that I appreciate, and I have seen more and more breweries starting to, brew the Irish red, and it's nice to see that because it's another lighter, I feel lighter beer that you can drink more than one and not feel like you're getting overtaxing your system or bloated from it. Just tastes good. Usually a little bit lower ABV, so you're not hitting that high. What is your ABV on your beer run about?
Our target's 4.8 to 5%,
Yeah,
and
perfect.
generally
Yeah.
the batch that's on right now is 5.
Okay.
I think one of the things that people usually get wrong on the style when they produce it commercially is I think it has more bitterness than some people assume.
Mm,
It's supposed to have a moderate amount of bitterness. Now that bitterness never overcomes like the caramel malt character that it has, but it comes up almost even with it and helps to create a balance.
hmm.
And a lot of the ones that I've had have been out of balance, and they've been out of balance because you have all the maltiness, but you don't have the moderate bitterness to help balance it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Get definitely balanced is the key. Yeah, for sure. Well, it sounds like a great beer that I'd love to try one day because like I said, I enjoy the style, and you're right, we don't get enough of it, and it is making a resurgence. So that's a great example. Okay, well, that's it for your personal craft beer journey. We'll give you a quick little break between questions. We're going to thank all of our Patreon supporters because this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Schlemmer, Amanda and Kevin Argauer, Mike Blanchard, Tara Carlson, Jim Kutzel, Alex Fuchs, and Eric Scotty Ward, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halbert, Chalamasta, Mark Church, Eric Grownley, and Batman, Mr. Dan, who wants to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. And yeah, I guess that's the only small break you get there, Wayne. I hope you got some water because we're going to start talking some more. We're going to get into our Brew Buzz segment, which is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. This week, we're going to learn all about your, Wayne's, craft brewing experience and your brewery endeavor, Griffon and Sphynx. So we'll start off with your brewing experience. And Kris, since I asked the last question, I'll let you start this
Sure.
off.
Well, Wayne, what led you into brewing beer as a profession? Well, would you
Well,
just say I want to brew beer? Yeah.
when I started homebrewing to learn more about beer, I became obsessed with it. And then when that happened, that's when I decided I wanted to try to pursue a career in it. And there was a local brew pub called Poplar Head Mule Company was the name of it, in Dothan, Alabama, which is about 30 minutes away from my hometown. And I was constantly trying to get a job there. Roy Milner, who was with Blackberry Farm, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Mm-mm.
Blackberry Farm in Maryville, Tennessee. They're known for saisons. Anyway, that's the. I think he's still. I'm pretty sure he's still with them. But he at the time, this was 1996 or so. He was the head brewer for Poplar Head in Dothan, Alabama. So I'd hang out with him quite a bit and just volunteer and do whatever I could to try to learn more about commercial brewing. Um, and I eventually was able to get hired as their brewer for a little while. Um, and and then there was a situation where one of the family friends of the owners of the brewery restaurant somehow coerced them into hiring him, and he had less experience than I did. So they basically took my job away, put me on wait staff,
Mm.
and when they did that, I left and went and did something else. Um, and I came back in about a year and a half, and everything was infected. The
Mm.
bright tanks were full of beer stone. It was pretty shocking, and they still wouldn't give me a job. So I had met Gary Essex, who was running Harbor Docks and Silver Sands Factory Outlet in Destin, Florida at the time. And I would go down and brew with him every once in a while. His, further trips are not as easy as going to Dothan, so I didn't get to spend as much time with him as I did with Roy. So uh, he he heard about them needing a brewer since the other brewer had pretty much ruined all the beer. So he started doing contract work for them. So he'd drive up and brew for them on the weekends, and I would come in and help him. And he knew that this was not something that was going to be long term, and he believed in me, and he felt like I should be the brewer there. So he told him that uh, he would continue contract brewing for them for a while, but if they didn't hire me, he wasn't doing any more work. So that was my first commercial job that I actually stuck, and um, I think that went on for about a year, and the situation with the owners became intolerable. So eventually, I was offered a job at Buckhead Brewery and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida, and that was the first real like good job with good brewing equipment. And basically, Gary Essex left Harbor Docks, went back to Buckhead Brewery and Grill, which he had started in the very beginning, and they were about to go through an expansion and open up different brew pubs around the perimeter of Atlanta. So he basically put me in charge of the Tallahassee branch while he was opening up all these new breweries around the perimeter of Atlanta. I don't know, how far do you want me to go with this? Do you want me to go like all the way through everything, or
Yeah.
I mean, you can go
okay?
as far as you
Yeah,
want to.
as far as you want to go. It's I mean, this is I think we just want to. So I mean, while we're stopped here, I'll say so. Uh, Obviously, it was a little bit shaky getting started, but again, what time frame was this first job that the first couple of jobs you took? Was this back in late '90s
Yeah, I'd say 96, 97, somewhere
or
around there.
mid to late '90s?
Yeah.
And so again, this was a time frame where uh, uh, people were experimenting with getting into making their own beer. And you mentioned getting into this second position, you actually had decent brewing equipment to work on, which is what you didn't have in the previous place that was obviously having problems. But were you the only brewer at both these first couple places that you went, or did you have people to learn with along with, or you just said learn as you went along, and and hope the beer turned out. Did you have any mentorship or anything?
I mean, when I spent time with Roy initially,
Okay.
when I was volunteering, he was helping me because, if you're home brewing at the time in the 90s, people weren't really using pumps.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
have pumps in the 90s. I mean, maybe somebody was doing that, but it was very uncommon.
Yeah.
Mostly everything was gravity fed
Gravity.
or
Yeah.
or something like that. So using pumps was something that had to be learned. Learning how to use commercial chemicals was something that had to be
Mm,
learned. So now you're using caustic. You're not
mhm.
using PBW powder or whatever was available at the time,
Yeah.
or elbow grease.
Yeah.
And it was also learning how to acid passivating stainless. You don't have metallic off flavors.
Mm,
Um, which sanitizers to use, and it was just different. And you had to
yeah.
know how much to use of those things, what temperatures they operate best at, and all that kind of stuff. So uh, a lot of things I learned from Roy going into commercial brewing, but also learned a lot from Gary.
Okay.
But yes, once I was trained in these situations or in these locations, I was the only brewer.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, here, you want me to pick up where I left off?
Yeah. Pick up where you left off, and then just as you go, you just highlight if there was people in these positions that help grow your experience in brewing as well. Would be great.
Okay. So after Tallahassee, basically, we were continuing to open up new brew pubs around the perimeter of Atlanta, and I Gary wanted me to go up and run one of them. So I trained someone to run Tallahassee, and I moved to Atlanta and started working at the Alpharetta Buckhead Brewery and Grill location. Um, Ran that for a while, and then we closed down the Tallahassee location,
Hmm.
and we were just focusing on the Atlanta area. So my protege moved up from Tallahassee and began to run the Alpharetta location, and I took the Cumming, Georgia location. Um, and then after a while, it wasn't too long after like 9/11 hit, and things
Mm.
started going south. Um, and the owner was continuing to expand and build new locations. And the newer locations didn't have breweries, so now we had to brew beer and deliver beer from the existing locations to the locations that didn't have breweries.
Mm.
And that was a lot of work. And After that, it wasn't too much longer before there was a hostile takeover by the bank, and
Oh.
because he had expanded beyond his means, and the idea was to, I think the idea was to build it up and sell it off, like a Longhorn or like something
Hmm.
along those lines. But he built it up too fast, and he didn't. The ground kind of slipped out from underneath him. Um, Once that happened, I went back home for a while and kind of tried to, figure out what I was going to do next. And then I started. I applied for a position at Foothills Brewing Company in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I got that job in 2006. I started working there, and that was my first time living in North Carolina. So I worked there through 2007, and had a friend reach out and tell me about the Cigar City brewing position. So I reached out to Joey Redner, who was the owner at the time, and started. I applied for a position, and I was hired, and I moved down there and started working in March of 2008, and it would prove to be the most challenging job of my entire career
Mm.
because in this situation, there was no brewing equipment. It was just a warehouse. So it required figuring out how the drainage on the floor was going to be laid out, you know, sloped floor, cutting floor out and re-pouring it with slope to trench drain, um, electrical, hiring contractors to do the job, um,
Damn.
placement of brewing equipment, just absolute starting from the beginning. But we did it, and we during the time when we were doing all that, we were also brewing pilots and trying to figure out which of the pilots would be good core brands or good seasonal brands as we continue to try to build some sort of future portfolio of beers that we would be brewing.
So
Yeah,
at that time, Wayne, I mean, Joey hired you to be the brewer, right?
correct.
And so you were coming up with these recipes for these pilot batches to find out what beers was Joey, was anyone guiding you on the styles or the what they kind of wanted flavor wise with these beers, or what they were trying to do? What was Joey's, because we interviewed Joey on another podcast a few years ago. But I'm curious about, we didn't talk about the origin stories of how Cigar City started. So this is nice to hear, how you helped start up this brewery that really became, well known in the craft beer industry and making some great beers. That obviously you had some you're the main brewer, so you had a lot into making these beers good. So what kind of insight were you guys working on, or brainstorming out with these beers when you were coming up with these pilot beers?
I think the primary idea was to try to harness local culture.
Okay.
So, Cuban culture is local. That's a big part of it. But I think there are other influences as well, besides just Cuban culture. And we would do things like go out to eat at different
Mm-hmm.
places with local culture, and go to different places just to try to pinpoint what it is culturally that we were trying to capture in our
Mm,
beers.
okay.
Um, you know, for instance, High the name itself already, gets into the culture of the area.
Mm-hmm.
And the sport, or I don't know if you would call it a sport necessarily, because a lot of times it was rigged and it was gambled on. Um, but things like that. And the idea for High when I designed it was to try to capture tropical expressions
Mm,
to emulate not only the culture but also the feel of being in Tampa. It's in the subtropics.
mm-hmm.
So that was why that beer was designed in the way that it was. Um, but then Joey was a big fan of malt forward beers at the time. So that's how Maduro Brown Ale
I love
came
that beer.
about. And that was the only core brand that was not piloted because I was really confident about it,
Mm,
and it was the first beer that we brewed commercially. And a really weird thing happened. The uh, the electrical inspector would not approve our electrical work, even though it matched the approved electrical schematic or blueprint that we submitted to the city. So he cut our power off for like 3 months. It was
oh no.
amazing that the beer actually survived.
Oh
We lost
wow.
the yeast, but the beer actually turned out being pretty good. Um, so instead of opening at the beginning of 2009, we didn't open until March of 2009 as a result of the electrical inspector giving us a hard time.
So when that so obviously, so the beer was fermenting just in the fermenter without any cooling or anything, just like natural, whatever temperature was at, that's what it was fermenting at for
It was
three months.
it
Or
was it
was it
was
kegged?
it was absolute luck. So basically what happened was we got through primary fermentation. That was over.
Okay.
And then after that happened, when he cut the power off, we went through a cold snap, which was highly unusual in
Oh.
Tampa.
Oh wow.
And it stayed cold for a while, which allowed the beer to not go autolytic and do all kinds of terrible stuff. It actually had some very nice flavors, and I would just keep dropping yeast as it settled off the tank.
Mm,
Um, we had we had CO2, we just didn't have power, right?
Yeah.
So we just did the best we could with it, and it actually turned out to be really nice, surprisingly.
Oh, good. That which is great. And you were able to reproduce that original beer over and over, or was it never
I was
quite the
able to
same?
reproduce it, but not in exactly the same way as the
Yeah.
first one because
Yeah.
no
Listen,
one wants to make a beer that takes 3 months.
we're gonna need you to go ahead and shut the power off for 3 months and hope it
Yeah,
stays cool. Brew
So
it in
yeah.
January and January only.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Maduro Brown is one of my favorites. Also, I'm a huge fan of, I'm gonna screw up the name, but the Bamber
Amberana or
Burana.
Bamberana.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
I still have a can left from the original
Ah,
six
wow.
pack
Yeah,
that I
Tim and I worked on that.
yeah, that beer is incredible. And I've this one I've saved for probably 4 years now, past the other ones I've drank. I drank the other ones and I've just been saving this one because it ages so well as well. And it's a big beer, but it just tastes fantastic. And all the different characters come through that just makes it a layered complex beer that is just really fantastic. I wish you guys would have brewed that one more than just one time.
Awesome, man. I'm so glad you appreciated that. The biggest problem with that, not just with like us brewing it, but with anyone brewing it, is that the FDA will not approve amber on a wood. They seem to feel like it
Oh,
has some sort of carcinogen in it, which I don't think so. I mean, if it does, then everybody who's drinking cachaça has cancer,
oh yeah.
because cachaça is aged in amberana barrels.
Okay.
So the only way that they'll let brewers use amberana wood is if spirits are aged in the barrel first.
Mm.
Okay.
Now, you tell me how this makes sense. I don't know. But if you put liquor into a barrel at high alcohol, aren't you going to pull more carcinogens out if it has carcinogens in there? So what are you
The
saying?
science would say
All the
yes.
liquor drinkers need to get the cancer, and then the brewers can have it. So beer drinkers don't get the cancer from the Ambrana. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But I was
Yeah.
working with an American company to try to reason with them, and they don't respond.
Okay.
So I had to hang it up and just move on. But
Okay.
that's why Amberana beers are so valuable because it's illegal unless you have post spirit use Amberana.
Okay. So I should save this can and sell it on the black market for a lot of
No,
money.
next time I come to
I
Boise,
would drink it
we'll
if I were
drink
you.
it.
Actually, Kris, we should have drank it when you were
You're
here
right.
because I forgot. I mean, I don't know why I'm saving one can. I keep thinking I better drink it before it goes, but it's in a can, and the cans are sealed. Like you guys did a really good job in canning these things. There's no oxidation. Like every time well, of course, I say that maybe I open this one
This
and
would
it
be the
will be,
one.
but I mean, after saving them and drinking them over time, every one had no off flavors and tasted better than the previous one. As it aged, it just got better and better. So I'm
Excellent.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time to develop, like trying to figure out specifically which type of dates and specifically
Mm-hmm.
which type of figs, and we went
Oh yeah.
through several things until we eventually figured it out. But that beer, I mean, we really put some thought into it. So I'm glad you enjoy it. It makes me feel
Yeah.
good.
Well, good. I mean, other beers I enjoy is yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you had your hands into the El Catador Club beers as well,
Oh,
or
definitely. Yeah.
um, I mean, Kris and I right now are going through the last edition. We've gone through three of them, and I'm telling you that I'm so blown away by how good these beers are. That and we've done the barley wine last episode. We did the barley wine. Um, incredible beer. We did the snack. Return of the snack, another great beer. And what was the first beer we did, Kris? It was
The one that was aged in Pinot barrels.
in Pinot barrels. I mean, I couldn't find any. And I think if I, I think I had, I think I got 2 5-cap like ratings. That's what I rated them, like perfect beer. I mean, they're so good. And then one was
Awesome.
like a 4.5, only because I felt that the Return of the Snack cold just like really good. And then, but as it warmed up, the flavors were kind of muddling, like kind of blending together a little too much, and it kind of didn't. I wasn't able to capture the different flavors as well when it warmed up as it was when it was a little bit chillier. But the other beers, as they warmed up, the flavors just changed and came out, and I mean, it was just remarkable beers. And we've only gone through 3 of them, and if the first 3 are as good as this, I'm hoping the next 4 will be just as good. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm thoroughly enjoying the beers. And
Awesome. So let me talk a little bit about those too, since you
sure,
mentioned them.
okay,
So Snack Attack was the original first one. And Snack Attack was brewed with Blue Jacket originally. And at the time that we brewed Snack Attack, Megan Parisi, who is now with Samuel Adams, I think she's their R&D brewer, she was the head brewer for Blue Jacket and DC. So that's kind of how that one came about, just to give you a little bit of background. And
okay,
basically, I don't know if they say it on the bottle, but the idea for Snack Attack was to make a beer that had flavors of a bunch of the movie concession stand foods.
okay,
That was the basis for creating that concept. As for the Pinot Noir barrel aged beer,
mm.
um, uh, so over the course of time, I developed a real affinity for wine,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to start to like wine because everywhere that hops grow well, wine grapes grow well.
Okay,
So if I'm in Washington State, doing hoplet selection or visiting farms, or if I'm in Oregon, the Willamette Valley,
mm-hmm.
um, there are some really great wines up there. So as a result of that, I ended up uh, meeting making friends with some of these owners of the wineries. So the Pinot barrels that wine or that beer was aged in uh, is called Lang, and they make really excellent Pinot Noir in the Willamette Valley in
Mm.
Oregon, just southwest of Portland.
Okay, okay,
So that's kind of the story of that one. And basically, what we tried to do is, or what I wanted to do, is make a beer that would mesh well with the barrel without it being weird. Because sometimes when
mm-hmm.
you mix wine and beer together, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So it was the most pressing thing on that one was just figuring out how to make it blend well with the barrel.
Did a hell of
okay,
a
yeah.
job.
Oh,
Simply
you did
put.
a great job. The other thing too is I mean, you don't put any ABV on the bottles, but my assumption is that they're large
Mhm.
alcohol content beers. But I'll tell you what, I mean, of the 3 so far, even the barley wine, I mean, none of them feel like you're drinking a boozy beer that is
Excellent.
sweet with the alcohol. And I mean, that's like alchemy, right? You're doing all this stuff, putting these high sugar content beers, and able to, make them so that the alcohol is not coming through strong. And that's again why I enjoyed them so much, is because I can enjoy the flavors, the complexity, the richness to it, and not get that boozy character as well. So,
It's two different things, Denny.
mhm.
The first thing is good oxidation and high alcohol beer. Good oxidation
Oh,
will
okay,
help knock some of that heat back.
okay,
And the second thing that Cigar City does well is all of their barrel aged beers are flash pasteurized. So
oh,
that's what stabilizes them. So
okay,
you don't have to worry about, if it's very unlikely you're going to get an LCAT bottle that's going to be infected or that's
okay,
going to change dramatically. The flash pasteurization process has an immediate impact. There's an immediate oxidative impact due to flash pasteurizing, but once it takes place, that beer is going to be stable for a long time.
Hmm.
okay.
Um, so that was one of the great things about El Cap. Once we got that flash pasteurizer, and started using it for barrel-aged beer, it made all the difference. It was insurance, pretty much.
Yeah. That's good. That's
Like
good.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got you up to Cigar City. You spent quite a few years there. You were,
Yes.
I mean,
Lots of years.
lots of years. Uh,
Lots of years.
you maintained so you were the original brewer, and then over time, as the brewery started growing, I'm assuming that you got a bunch of brewers under you. You mentioned that one of the guys went off and did Green Bench, and then Amanda, I think you said Amanda,
Kris, his name's
uh,
Kris. Yep.
Kris. Yeah, Kris went to
Green
Green
bench.
Bench.
But I do know Chuck Silva.
Okay. So you did nurture. I mean, so as you went through these years and you're brewing beers, the brewery's growing, you're getting people under you, you've mentored and brought up a lot of brewers that have moved on and doing great things. Is that seem, I mean, I'm not wrong, right? It seems like you did pretty good in mentoring people.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds close enough.
Okay. And
So, but
yeah.
anyway, um, we opened up thinking we were going to be a boutique brewery that just made, like a couple of core brands and then make different stuff all year round and not make the
Okay.
same beers. That things did not happen that way because Highlight became such a successful beer that we got to a crossroads where we had to decide we were going to be more of a production facility versus a boutique facility, and we ended up going with production facility. And then at that point, we bought a brew house that was twice the size of the original brew house,
Wow.
much larger tanks, and we just called it Brew House 2 at the time. Um, and eventually, in March of 2016, the company was purchased by a private equity group called Fireman's Capital. Fireman's Capital also owned another brewery called Oscar Blues.
Mm.
So when that happened, um, you know, it was one of the biggest issues was there was more demand for our product than we could produce.
Hmm.
So there was excess capacity available at the Brevard Oscar Blues facility. So
Oh.
we began to produce Cigar City brands at Brevard Oscar Blues in North Carolina. By March of 2017, my wife and I had purchased a house in Sylvan, North Carolina, and I came up here to monitor Cigar City brands and being produced at Oscar Blues in Brevard, North Carolina.
Okay.
And by 2022, Monster Energy Drink purchased Canarchy, which was how the equity group rebranded itself. So it wasn't Fireman's Capital anymore. It was called Canarchy, which is a collective of craft breweries. Um, so Monster purchased all of Canarchy in 2022. And then in 2024, February last year, they laid me off. And that brings us up to now.
Okay.
So let's see, about a couple months after that, John Cochran, who was one of the founders of Terrapin Brewing Company in Athens, Georgia.
Hmm.
After he left, and Molson Miller Coors, sorry, purchased Terrapin, he went to South Carolina, but opened a brewery in Asheville, North Carolina called Upcountry Brewing.
Okay.
And then he also purchased another small location in Brevard, in the Lumberyard district. Uh, it was formerly known as Peaks and Creeks, but he purchased it and then rebranded it as Upcountry Brewing. So year before last, Diatribe purchased Asheville Upcountry, and last year, 2024, we purchased the smaller Upcountry in Brevard, North Carolina. So that brings us up to date, and that's Griffon and Sphynx now.
Okay. So so you purchased a already existing brewery. Are you at the time, was your plan to just buy the brewery and then change it over to Griffon and Sphynx, or are you also holding like here locally in Boise, we have some breweries that have bought out other breweries and they still produce beers under the other breweries, because they were classic beers as well as their own beers. Is that something you're doing, or have you strictly switched over to your own stock brand of beer?
The only brand that we kept was called Scamper IPA,
Okay.
and everything else is Griffon and Sphynx. But
Okay.
I've actually applied to the state of North Carolina to transfer that brand from Upcountry to Griffon and Sphynx. So it'll still be called Scamper IPA, but it'll be a Griffon and Sphynx brand and not
Okay.
an Upcountry brand.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the only one that we kept though.
Okay. So here's another question that I have to ask. What you said Oscar Blues has a production brewery in Brevard, so you were going there and watching over. Then the Upcountry's here and a couple other. How big is Brevard, and what makes it so pop? Why did Oscar and Blues have a production brewery in a small, what I assume is a small town, or is it a big town? I've never even heard of Brevard until talking with you.
Not a big town,
Mhm.
but there's a couple of reasons.
Mhm.
You also have to understand that not too far away is Mills River and Sierra Nevada
Mm.
Brewing Company's there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So let's take that into account. And let's also take into account that New Belgium is in Asheville, right? There's three
True. Yeah.
pretty sizable breweries that are pretty well respected, right?
Yeah.
So why would they all move to the same place? Well,
Okay.
number one is water quality is fantastic.
Okay.
Um, but the other thing too, as far as Sierra Nevada and Oscar Blues are concerned, they're not that far from the Pisgah Forest, which has incredible mountain biking and hiking, camping, all that stuff. It's right there. So I think that that's also beneficial because there is definitely a decent amount of tourism that takes place as a result of all those different things that you
Hmm.
can do throughout the year. So those are the two things that I think play well into it. They're also not off the beaten path. So if you're talking about receiving raw materials or shipping out product to market, it's not in a dead end place. If you look
Okay.
at
Yeah.
Tampa, Tampa is not the ideal location because you're going down there and dropping stuff off and it's out of the way, right? It's like a
Yeah.
dead
Mhm.
end. But
Okay.
North Carolina is not that way. It's a thoroughfare. So um, that would be my guess why, but
Okay.
I can't tell you for sure. I also tell you that Dale, the original owner of Oscar Blues, was really big into mountain biking, and he also owns his own mountain bike manufacturing company. So I'm sure that kind of played into it if he had any personal input on it whatsoever.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So, and then I'm assuming that you decided to purchase a house around this area in Silva because you also fell in love with the same stuff you just talked about. You like doing outdoor stuff, mountain biking,
Yeah,
and
well, I like doing mountain biking, but I don't have anyone to go with, and now I'm so busy that I can't do it even if I wanted to. Um, so I just love the mountains, period.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're awesome. And the property that we live on has two streams that run through it. And if you're outside, you can hear that, and it's just really
hmm,
peaceful white noise.
yeah,
There's four seasons here.
Yeah.
That
hmm,
does not exist in Florida.
yeah,
You don't even get maybe you get a fall, but that's one of the things that drove me nuts about living in Florida. There aren't
yeah,
four seasons. It's like summer, summer, summer.
yeah,
Um, so uh, fall is incredibly beautiful here with the leaf change. Um, the agriculture, like it's different here. So instead of oranges, there's apples and all kinds of other things. Indigenous mushrooms grow here very well. So we've got things like chaga, lion's mane, all those things are indigenous to this area and grow well on live birch.
Mm,
Um, just all kinds of cool stuff. I love this area. It's the
okay.
best place I've ever lived.
What?
It's way better than my hometown. And a lot of people don't say that, but I wouldn't want to live any place else. I'm in my place right now.
That's a perfect reason. That's a perfect reason. Well, we've done a great job at highlighting some of these questions, Kris.
Trying to figure out which ones we didn't touch on yet.
Well, I mean, there's a few, but I think Wayne did a great job of leading us right through his experience into the current Griffon and Sphynx. So let's just go and start talking about that. Um, I mean, you're so now you own your own brewery. Was this always in the plans? Did you always plan on one day owning your own brewery, or was the circumstances that led up to this help push you that way?
I've always wanted to own my own brewery and run things the way that I wanted to run
Mm-hmm.
them with my ideas exactly as I wanted them without having to edit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was, what happened in February of last year was just like you said, it was motivation. So it
Yeah.
just pushed me in that direction sooner than I was expecting. Um, and I think it was also important. Uh, we talked about the fact that I drive an hour and 15 minutes one way
Yeah.
to work. I
That's
live
true.
like a long way away, but part of that is because we like our house so much.
Mm,
Um, so why would I do that? Why would I buy a brewery that's an hour and 15 minutes away? And the answer to that is it's turnkey. It's in a good location and the lumberyard. There's a lot of foot traffic.
mm-hmm.
There are a lot of other businesses around there that we kind of work off each other because of being in close proximity to each other. Um, and and one of the most important reasons is the size of the brewing equipment. Um,
Mm.
the brew house is only 3.5 barrels.
Okay.
I can get 4 barrels out of it as long as it's not a big beer, a high like alcohol. And the fermenters are 7, and the bright tank is 7. So if you're trying to
Advantage.
start or establish a new brand, and you don't need to be making 15 barrels of beer, especially not in this market right now.
Yeah.
So the majority of the beer that we produce is sold over the bar, and we do some minor self-distribution to key accounts. Those accounts being, as we discussed, or we touched on earlier before we started up the show, Blue Ridge Beer Hub in Waynesville, North Carolina is one of my key accounts.
Mm.
All of the whale locations in Asheville,
Oh
there's
yeah.
3 of them. That I really love what they're doing. And Queen City Gourmet and Craft in Charlotte, North Carolina. Those are the only accounts I've been selling to so far. And they know how to treat beer well, and their beer culture is strong. And I like the way they build their draft boards. They structure it in such a way to where there's variety. And I think that's important. They clean their serving lines. All
Mm.
these things are important because it positively portrays what you're doing and gives people a great idea of what's going on. Um, and basically, the idea is I've been brewing commercially for such a long time, and I don't really see any reason to reinvent what I've been doing. So my approach has just been going back and looking at the things I've done since 1996, you know, and um, kind of pick and choose through those things and make those beers. There's and 99% of the time, I will not just pull something that I brewed in the 90s out and just brew it exactly as I brewed it in the 90s. I've learned a lot over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I take that knowledge and I modernize the recipe into the way that I would approach it today versus the way that I originally approached it in the 90s, we'll say,
Hmm.
in this instance. Um, so our focus, if you look at our draft board, we have 3 different focuses. I think um, one of them is focus on hop forward beers. So we currently have 4 different hop forward beers on draft right now, and I like the ABV to be spread out in such a way to where it offers people alcohol variety.
Mhm.
So the ABV ranges across these four beers from 4.5 to 7.5. So
Okay.
it's like 4.5, 6.3, 6.7, 7.5.
Nice.
And each of these beers is a completely different experience. Uh, so part of it is hop forward beer. That's part of our focus. We have like four different German lagers on draft right now,
Oh wow. Four.
and I
Wait,
love
wait.
traditional German lager.
Okay, so you have four German lagers. I'm assuming some of them are dark and or are
Mhm.
they just different styles like Helles versus uh I mean so what kind of what are the four you have? I'm curious now. Got my piqued my curiosity because nobody has four German lagers unless you're a German lager brewery.
We have Keller Pils on, we have
Okay.
German Pilsner on, we have Festbier on, we have
Okay.
Dunkel Lager on. I have
Okay.
a Schwarzbier that's in the bright tank, which
Oh,
I'll keg on Wednesday of this week.
nice.
And I have a Helles Lager that's in the fermenter and it's going through diacetyl rest right now.
Okay.
Um, so lager is big on my list. I really like that. So that's part of our focus. And then the other part of our focus, in my opinion, is making lower alcohol versions of beer, of traditional beers.
Mm.
So, for instance, the Dunkel Lager, if you look at the style guidelines, that's a style that on the low end is at 4.8% alcohol. Um, Ours is 4.3.
Okay.
Helles Lager, if you look at that as a style, that the low end is 4.8% ABV. Ours is 4%.
Cool.
So I like taking styles and making lower alcohol versions of them because we're already seeing this NA market being pretty
Mm-hmm.
popular
Yeah.
with pretty exponential growth. So my idea is I want to put something in between non-alcoholic and 5%.
Yeah.
So I want to offer people beers that are in the 3 to 4.5% range to give them, an opportunity to cut back on alcohol if they want to, but make the beers in such a way to where you don't miss mouthfeel because I know how to supplement it. Because
Mm-hmm.
I worked on the NA project for Canarchy since 2019. I understand how those components work and I understand how to build them in such a way to where you can still have good head retention. You can
Mm-hmm.
still have good mouthfeel. You can still have good malt flavor. You can still have good hop aroma and flavor. All those things can be built out in such a way where you create balance and you can create a lower alcohol product without missing something. So that's our third and big focus. And that's what Griffon and Sphynx is.
Well, I love what Griffon Sphynx is because everything you said, I appreciate. You're
Denny's over
absolutely
there
correct.
drooling.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
For what?
once more.
Yeah. So I completely agree. You know, if you can't tell, I'm aging, and used to be all about I wanted, especially early in my craft beer journey, I wanted big beer, right? I wanted the highest ABV because I wanted to get that buzz on. As I've grown older, I still enjoy big beers, but a lot less often than I just enjoy drinking beer. And I even drink NA beers now. If you would have asked me even 5 years ago if I'd ever be drinking NA beers, for one thing, the beers back then were crap. So they didn't taste good. Now, so many NA beers actually taste decent. Are they a perfect match for the alcoholic versions? No, not perfect, but there's so many good ones now that I can, when I get done with my when I exercise, I don't want to go and drink a beer that's now putting alcohol back in my body because I just got done, you know, making healthy decisions. And so I have NA beers and I go and I pop one NA beer and I drink it. I'm getting the goodness of the malt and stuff in there, but I'm not getting alcohol and it makes me, feel good. But I also, when I go to the breweries now, I don't want to drink beers that, anything above 6%. I pretty much say, you know what, I'll have a small taster of it, but I want to focus on the lower ABV beers because I want to be able to enjoy a couple beers without feeling like, gee, now I'm wasted for the rest of the day because I don't have the energy to do anything. So I appreciate that drive to provide quality beers at a lower ABV, not the
Yep.
stuff we got back in, when I visited, I worked in Utah. I would go and work in Utah back when they had the 3.2 thing. And those beers, they were just brewed to meet the limit and not brewed to actually taste and be fulfilling and good. And now brewers have, especially good brewers, have learned to, you can have that mouthfeel, you can have that flavor without giving up, with that lower alcohol, without giving up the flavor and the body and everything. And that's what I appreciate. And there's a lot of breweries doing it here locally. I have a brewery that opened up, and his whole focus is the way that I built my business plan is to move as much beer as I can through his brewery. And how he does that is he has a smaller brew house like you. He has 1 barrel fermenters. He splits the batches. He mixes up some different things, and he has it lower ABV so that he can have people come in, drink the beer, and he charges $5 a pint, which is insane, even in Boise, which is not as high as a lot of places. But we're seeing beer prices, pint prices now, at the 850, 750 to 850 mark, which is ridiculous for our smaller area. But he's selling for $5 a pint, and his whole thing is getting the volume through. And the way to do that is to provide good quality beers at a lower ABV that he just is constantly pumping through and having a lot of variety for people to come. And he's doing well, which is
Excellent.
good, because that's what I want to see. I want to see breweries succeed, making good beer, getting people in the seats so that they can stay. It's as it's a low margin. There's very low margin in profit in owning a brewery. So you got to figure out ways to make the best of it. And so I applaud you for all those. And I'm a hop head. I mean, I love all styles. I've grown, there was a 10-year period where all I drank was hoppy beers. And then I grew up, and craft brewery started brewing more lagers again, because lagers kind of disappeared for a while. And now they started growing them. And I kind of switched back to enjoying good quality lagers. I'm sure Kemper. I can't remember his first name, but Chuck and Nut Brewery, lager brewery in Washington. My first craft beer experience was with Thomas Kemper Brewing right outside of Silverdale, Washington, there outside of the sub base. And we would go there, and that was my first experience back in the early 90s of what real craft beer was. We'd go to the brewery, we brought our families, we played darts and horseshoes and ate and drank the beer. And it was an experience that got me hooked on craft beer, just the experience and the good beer. And he was a major part of it by brewing these, lagers that tasted great.
Interestingly, my introduction to Thomas Kemper was also in the 90s. But living in Southeast Alabama, I didn't have the same experience as you because I couldn't go to the brewery. But they were in the Great American Beer Club thing, where you get like 12 craft beers. They were featured at least once or twice, and that was my introduction to them. And I agree, from my memory of what the beers tasted like that I had from them, they were definitely making good lager in the late 90s.
Yeah. So it's and it's just good that I transitioned from lagers to hoppy stuff, and then back to lagers and multi Ls, and it's, again, that's our whole craft beer journey, is just experiencing things. And there was a time when I didn't like Belgian beers because I thought they tasted funny. Same thing with you with the Hefeweizen, right? You thought something's wrong here, and I wasn't used to the Belgian yeast ester characters and stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I like bubblegum and clovey banana. I mean, the Hefeweizen was okay, but the Belgians just added more of it. But then now go back 10 years ago, and I reintroduced myself to Belgians, and now it's one of my favorite styles that I can't get enough of Belgian beers. So we all grow in our craft beer journeys.
I
Well,
agree. I mean,
I wanna interrupt your conversation just because Chance Haas hopped on and said hello, Wayne. He said cheers from Tampa Bay Brewing Company. Just wanted
oh,
to
excellent.
yeah, wanted to
Awesome.
get that in there. And the whole reason, one of the big reasons that I reached out to you guys to tell you you were talking about the lagers is you guys mentioned you were brewing a Schwartz beer.
Oh yeah.
Back in I think it was in November or something, and I was like, okay, I gotta reach out and say hi and see if we can get them to come on the show with us.
Right on. Yep. Yeah, it turned out really good. I was just waiting for it to clarify. Everything is fine. Well, not every, I don't find everything, like the calorie pills is not fine, but um yeah, I think all clarity will be in a good place on Wednesday. It's already shaping up, so and it's pretty much almost 100% natural carbonation
Oh
because
wow.
I use spooning valves on all my lagers. So they're usually fermented under 12 psi plus at pressure, 12 and 14 psi. So it's carbonated with primarily its own CO2.
Awesome.
Really? So do you leave your beers? Do you actually go straight from the fermenting tanks or the prime bright tanks or whatever, or how, or is it being fermented by the? I mean, you're carbonated by the keg. I mean, are you kegging your beers or are you
Yeah,
saying because okay, because there are some breweries that serve straight from tanks.
yeah, we don't
Um,
do that because I'm
okay,
looking for, clarity.
okay,
Um, I
okay,
don't mind a little bit of haze, but I like all my beers to be crystal clear.
okay.
So and it's harder to do when you don't have more technology, mechanical separation through centrifuging is great. It makes it easier. So you have to be a little bit more careful when you're finding everything.
Yeah,
When you're transferring out of the fermenter into the bright tank, you got to really be paying attention to what you're doing and then literally standing over it the whole time to make sure it goes down in the right way.
yeah.
But, just doing what I got to do until we get to the point to where we can grow the business.
Excellent. Hey, Kris, I'm gonna let you ask a couple questions. I'm gonna go use the little boys' room.
All right. All right. Well, Wayne, since you're taking over, what's your I believe, how did you say it? You said you wanted to be able to brew things and do things your ways without having to edit anything, so that way you could produce what you wanted to produce. What what advice or tips would you give to aspiring brewers looking to jump into the craft beer industry?
Oh, man, it's crazy right now. I'd say don't open your own brewery, work for somebody.
Yeah,
And try to find somebody who, especially, if you don't have that much experience, especially if, yeah, someone who's inexperienced needs to work for somebody for X amount of time before they start trying to throw money at their own thing. And once you start doing your own thing, I keep seeing people post stuff on social media and saying, you know, um, running a successful brewery is more than just about making great beer. And I'm so tired of seeing it. I'm sick and tired of it. Um, I agree with that statement, but if you are not opening a brewery to make great beer with a focus on making great beer, then you're more about making money than beer. And
sure.
and that's not what I'm about. I'm about making great beer first.
Well,
So, you know, those are the kind of things I would suggest. Get experience by working for other people before trying to venture out and do your own thing. And if you do your own thing, you better be making really good beer
yeah.
because it's a real competitive market right now.
Yeah, there's way too many people out there making really good beer to do it to be mediocre with it.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, where did the name come from? Where did Griffon and Sphynx come from? Because something tells me I just saw one of them run up the stairs a few minutes ago.
Yeah. So the reason the name is spelled so different or different than how most people would think those two words are spelled is because it's breeds of dogs and cats.
hmm
So the Brussels Griffon is the type of dog that we have, and Sphinx is a hairless breed of cat. And we have both of those types of animals. So I considered calling it Wambles Brewing Company, but I I changed my mind, and I just didn't want to have my name slapped on it. I wanted it to be something else that was more playful and had a little bit of, a different kind of flair to it. So, we decided to call it Griffon and Sphynx.
Okay.
And
Um,
it's unique and it sounds old world, which
yeah,
is kind of cool too.
yeah. Are you still consulting at all?
I wouldn't call it consulting per se. I, uh, I, I maybe contracting or something like that. So, um, I still brew beer at home, and when I brew beer at home, I primarily am brewing pilots for a company called Abstracts out of California. Abstracts makes a lot of processed hop products.
Mm.
So I will take their test products and brew beer with them. We basically, it's Tom Nielsen and I, former Sierra Nevada. So him and I work together closely, trying to determine what the goal of each test brew is with each test product. Uh, we devise a recipe, and then I brew those and I package them in bottles and I ship them to California where they can run sensory and any sort of analytical tests they need to run on the beers. And it's been an awesome experience.
Mm.
That's pretty awesome. Cool. Well, out of the out of the beers that you guys put out, I think you kind of touched on this one a little bit too. Um, is that red ale your favorite beer that you guys produce?
I would say yes, if not very, very close.
Yeah.
It's just a really drinkable beer. It's really well balanced. Uh, and I mean, I'd say 95% of people I put it in front of will drink it. It's that one is actually called the Griffon. So
Mhm.
it's
Oh,
named after the dog breed that we have. So our two core brands are the Griffon, which is Irish Red Ale, and the Sphinx. And the Sphinx is as a West Coast IPA, but
wow.
the expression of it is different. It's more of like a contemporary West Coast. So a portion of the two-row base malt is substituted with Pilsner malt to let the hops come through more. And the approach isn't like, uh, let's batter this thing with Simcoe and Citra. It's a completely different hop approach that uses Sultana, Alani, and Motueka, New Zealand
Mm.
variety,
Hmm.
with just a touch of Nectaron,
Mm.
which gives it like this pineapple, lemon,
Hmm.
lime, floral expression with a little bit of stone fruit. And that whole combination of hops also can give you like a little bit of this orange sherbet like character.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Um, so it's not a beat you over the head type
Hmm.
of West Coast IPA with old school hops. It's newer school, brighter, more
Hmm.
uplifting kind
Yeah.
of IPA. Yeah,
Yeah. There's quite a few breweries doing that style, that type of, like you said, contemporary, like new world West Coast IPA. And I appreciate it. I mean, when I usually when I hear West Coast IPA, I think of the old West Coast, but now with the newer styles, I appreciate them just as much. Now my wife doesn't because she likes that all big pine citrus hop character, but um, I mean, she would still enjoy the newer styles, but I kind of appreciate them because, like you said, they come across a little bit more delicate, and the flavors just kind of mingle in there and give you some extra things that you don't get when you have that excessive amount of pine and grapefruit,
I agree.
lime bitterness.
I think you can get a better balance
Yeah.
with this approach. And then let's touch on the winter ale a little bit since we
Okay.
brought that up earlier in the show.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when people come in and they order the winter ale or ask about the winter ale, most of them assume that what the beer is like a dark brown or dark red beer that has holiday spices in it.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
absolutely not what our beer is.
Yeah.
So basically, it's It's a hoppy red ale at 6.6%, but it's a deeper red.
Hmm.
It's not like it's merging towards brown, but it's still red. Um, that has spruce tips in it. So
Oh,
it's like
nice.
a hoppy red ale with spruce tips, but the malt character shines through, and the way the malt components come across with the hop components, um, the, with the hops you're getting red fruit, citrus, maybe a little bit of pineapple, and then the way the malt comes across, it's almost like fruit cakey.
Hmm.
So the hops it mesh with the malt and create this hop fruit cake kind of note. And then about mid taste, the spruce comes in and starts to mingle with the hop bitterness and flavor moving into the finish. And then in the very finish of the beer, the spruce character, the evergreen, is all that's left on your palate.
Mm.
So the spruce is not front and center. It's just
Hmm.
a nuance
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like this hoppy red beer that has this fruit cake like character, but not diabetic. It's like if hops were the fruit in a fruit cake kind of thing. It's kind of hard
Wow.
to explain, but if you taste it, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah, sounds awesome. I can as you explained it, I was imagining it in my head, and sounds fantastic. And yeah, I love it when like we said with this roasted rye IPA, it's a great winter beer that's not a traditional winter warmer or Christmas ale, and yours is the same way. It's nice to have that malty character with the spruce tips is all a nice character, but it's not, like you said, not up front. It kind of lingers in the back and gives you that balance through it. And yeah, that sounds good. I need to go make a trip to is there an airport in Brevard I can just fly into?
You can fly into Asheville, and it's once you get to the Asheville airport, it's a super short drive to Sierra Nevada Mills River, and it's only about 25 to 30 minutes away from Brevard. So you're
Okay.
close to both those locations.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we're overdue for a trip there too.
Yeah, yeah, maybe we should meet up there.
Could do that.
Yeah, don't let the hurricane keep you away. I mean,
Well, I mean, now that you brought that, we know from speaking with our buddy
Jeff.
Jeff Seiler
Jeff Seiler.
that he was I guess you guys lost power, but he was safe from the majority of the damage. Um, I'm assuming Brevard was also okay, made it through okay, wasn't in the path of Helene
most
or
of
the
it,
water.
it was in some weird bubble kind of situation
Okay.
because it was 2 days after the hurricane came through. I was able to make it it was an hour and 15 minutes, right? So
Yeah.
I was able to make it all the way to the brewery. I had to go some different ways because of excessive flooding in certain areas,
Mm.
but I was able to make it to the brewery 2 days afterwards, and we didn't even lose power there.
Oh,
It
really?
was zero
Wow.
damage, and we still had power, thank God, because my fest beer was still in tank.
Oh.
And then
You didn't want to let the cooler weather just try to eke that one out.
that one wasn't going to work out that way. And then and then we lost power at our house for 9.5 days.
Mm.
So
Oh, okay.
there were two completely different things. But I
Yeah.
mean, there was definitely a significant impact. But I think the businesses here were hurt pretty bad by missing the tourism from
Mm.
as a result of everything that happened. But Asheville has potable water back there, the last ones to get it. And I mean, everything's not exactly like it was before it hit, but I think everybody is ready to receive business again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
um, I hope people will keep Asheville and the surrounding area in mind with any future travel plans because I think we're in a good place now and are ready for people to come and visit and check out our beer and everything else. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so you mentioned that you do provide kegs. Do you can your beers, or do you strictly serve it on premise and then provide kegs to different venues?
generally Most of my accounts, I sell one-way kegs, and
Oh, okay.
self-distribution is legal in the state of North Carolina, so I can distribute it myself. Um, and for the only place that I sell packaged beer outside of kegs is to go at the brewery. And
Okay.
I will not put beer in cans at this point, and it's just because the way that I'm filling bottles right now is so manual that I don't feel like I could get very good. I don't feel like I could get low enough like dissolved oxygen levels
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
cans. I mean, cans have a big hole on top of them, where
Hmm.
a bottle has a much smaller hole.
Yeah.
So basically, what I use is a benchtop counter pressure filler to fill bottles. I quadruple purge. I use large format, generally 500 ml or 22-ounce bottles.
Okay.
I use crowns with an oxygen scavenging crown gasket. So I'm trying to do everything I can to get 2 to 3 months out of those bottles. We do not do crawlers. We do not do crawlers. I won't do them. I don't want to put something into a package that's only going to be good for 2 to 3 days. So that's when we do the larger format, bombers and sometimes 500 ml bottles. And then after I fill the bottle, before I crown it, if I don't have foam to the very top of the bottle, to the entrance of the bottle, I'll hit it with like a spanner wrench and encourage it to foam and then crown on foam. So I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I
Mm.
know, it's not super complicated to package beer, but I know enough to where if I know what has to be done to get it right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I
Yeah.
really want 2 to 3 months out of my bottles that people are buying. I hope they don't hold on to them that long, but
Yeah.
Hmm.
just in case,
Yeah.
I'm trying to give them the best possible experience I can because when they take that bottle home, I want it to drink as close to the draft beer as possible.
Yeah.
That's
Excellent.
the goal.
Yeah. Excellent. How many drafts, how many taps do you have at your location?
We have a total of 15, but I only have
Oh,
12 on right now.
well, 12 is still a good, that's a good number. And
It's hard to do, man, because
yeah.
like you have to small batch. So you want to yield around 3 barrels. You'd have to be like in the 2.5 to 3 barrel yield range to be able to make it work because the cooler space is kind of limited in the draft
Uh,
cooler. So you
yeah.
really have to stack stuff up and manage things
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it would be complicated to have 15 unique beers on draft.
Yeah. I'm going back. I just remembered a question I wanted to ask you before I went out to use the restroom. Having as many loggers as you have available, it takes a long time to, get those fermented and get them ready to, to serve. So what, I mean, you said you had, seven, you had a variety of different types of fermenters. Do you have smaller fermenters that you do loggers in that you can like, or you, I mean, how many fermenters you have to be able to to get six loggers going on your taps? Well, I know right now you have four, but you have two more that just are getting ready to be released. So you're seem to be pumping these things out pretty well for a beer that typically takes what 6 weeks or so to get ready.
That's exactly right. So my target is 6 weeks. Since I'm fermenting under pressure at such a high pressure, it generally takes 2 weeks for complete fermentation to take place. Then another 4 weeks of cold conditioning, and
Okay.
then you know maybe even 7 weeks it takes because once I find it as I'm moving it into the bright tank, it's going to sit for 5 to 7 days there to get the clarity that I want before I can
Okay.
start moving it into keg. Uh, it's I just make them when I can, and I think they hold up the age pretty well
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because I'm spooning. I'm capturing a lot of sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is you don't see sulfur dioxide production as much with ale yeast, but lager yeast produce quite a bit of it. And
Yeah.
if you can maintain or retain that sulfur dioxide, it will extend the shelf life of your beer because it's a natural preservative. So that's another reason that I don't mind lager sitting around in kegs for a little while. My draft cooler is sub 40. I've also done testing on stability, beer stability, when I was working for Canarchy, and I know that storage below 40 is usually can get you with specific brands as much as 6 months plus of
Oh,
shelf
wow.
life.
Damn.
Also think that um, you know beer likes more beer is what we used to say quite a bit. So beer in a 15 and a half gallon keg that's packaged properly probably is going to last better than beer put into a 12-ounce bottle, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Beer likes
Mhm.
more beer is something that
Yeah.
we always talk about. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think things are going well as far as lager goes. I have a structure. It's just not fast, but I don't think lager was made to, be something that's produced quickly.
Yeah. No, no. That's just it. Is I know that there's breweries out there that are doing things to speed up the lager production, and I mean, I don't know. Maybe they work, but it seems like the slow road is often the best road, right? When you want quality and you want a product that is going to be what you want, right? You don't want to put out something that's just a little bit less than what you could do. So no,
Yep,
I applaud that.
I agree with that.
Um, okay, wow, we've Kris, other questions we have. What else? We've already kept Wayne longer than we planned, but the conversation has been so wonderful. I really appreciate you, Wayne, coming on and opening up and educating us. Our listeners are going to be floored and expect some people to write in and say they appreciated you, being so open with us because they love hearing about stories like what you're telling, and you've told some great stories and some great knowledge on brewing.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. And this is just, normal me. I really love beer and I love talking about beer. And, it's also been nice. Even my wife and I are the only people, we're the only employees. We don't have
Oh,
employees basically.
okay.
So if the bar is open, we're behind the bar, serving people our beer and talking about beer. And this is the first time I've been in that situation. I found that I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Um, I've never been in a situation where I could, really tell people exactly what is in my beer and why my beer
Hmm.
is this way, and make suggestions to people when they say I'm looking for a beer that's like this, or I want to have this experience.
Hmm.
So that's been really cool. Another thing, if you guys get any emails, please forward them to me. I'd love to see any sort of positive comments.
Of
Yeah,
course.
sure.
Yeah.
Most
No, we
definitely.
will. We will for sure. Okay. So one last question for you. And again, you kind of already mentioned it, but you can just reiterate it again so all our listeners out there in your area can find your beers. How can people find your beers? What's the best way besides coming to your brewery?
And
Is that
Griffin
is
and
it
Sphynx, how do they find you guys?
or yeah is
If
it
you just want to find, like the information or like social media posts, things like that, you should be able to find it on Facebook. And it's just so the crazy thing about our name is it's spelled different and it's spelled like the breeds of animals. So it's instead of Griffin with an I, it's Griffin with an O, because that's how the dog breed is spelled. So Griffon instead of IN.
That's
And
neat.
instead of and in the middle of the word, it's an ampersand. And in some cases, if you do not use the ampersand, it will not show up. So you
okay.
have to use the and symbol, which is the ampersand. Sphinx is spelled Sphinx, not Sphinx, like the Sphinx in Egypt. This is the breed of cat, so it's spelled with a Y instead of an I. Um,
You guys had to
and
be totally unique about it. I love it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But once you get it, man, it's hard to mistake it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Facebook, we have a presence there. Instagram, we have a presence there. If you're looking for us, if you're looking for the brewery and you're in Brevard or close to Brevard, we have a Google page, obviously, Google Maps. You can find
Hmm.
us that way. Definitely have to use ampersand on that one. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
and we're working on my wife has been working on the website. Basically, she does all of the artwork, the murals on
Oh,
the walls at the brewery.
oh,
She
wow.
stenciled the entire floor, all the
Which looks
visuals,
amazing,
and
by the way.
thank you. All the visuals and marketing are my wife. Uh,
Wow.
we're just a two-man team. I make the beer, and she does a lot of other things.
Everything else.
Yeah,
Everything visual. I make things that you taste. She makes things that you see.
that's
So
pretty
Yeah.
awesome. Well, and then on that Google page too, when folks go out there and try your amazing beers, make sure you leave them 5-star reviews on that Google
Yeah,
page
of course.
because that's a big help. That's a big help.
yes,
Yeah.
definitely appreciated.
What hours are you open certain days of the week and what hours?
Yeah, we opened on as Griffon and Sphynx on 10/16/24. And it's kind of been we kind of been trying to figure out exactly, which hours work.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
we went into the holidays and ran
true.
holiday hours.
Yeah.
So right now what we're thinking works is 4 to 8 p.m. on Monday, closed on Tuesday. That's our only day off.
Oh, wow.
And then Wednesday and Thursday, 3 to 8. Um, and then Friday is 3 to 9. Saturday is 2 to 9. And Sunday is, what is Sunday? We just recently changed it. Sunday is 2 to 6.
Okay.
So, but you can find them on like if you find our Google Maps or find us on Google. All our posted hours are up to date there,
Okay.
and you should also be able to find it on our Facebook page. And I'm not sure if Instagram's been updated, but between those two, you should be able to get the most current hours.
Okay. Well, we will for sure have a link to your pages on our show notes that will be attached to the podcast when it gets released, and direct people to your sites for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got me all giddy to come. I've already wanted to come out to Asheville, but now I want to come to Brevard, and I want to visit your brewery because everything you've mentioned just is exactly what I appreciate in craft beer.
Awesome. Well, Denny, you should come out here because there's a lot of good breweries out here besides just Griffon and Sphynx. Sierra Nevada is one of my favorite breweries in this area.
That's an
But
experience in itself.
it's there's nothing like that place. I mean, this is a result of 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a better location to go as a craft beer enthusiast in America. I mean, I just don't think it exists. Mills River, Sierra Nevada is just spectacular. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, Wayne, we're going to let you go eat some dinner. I
Awesome.
apologize for keeping you from eating, but I just want to give my heartfelt thanks for you being so open and providing so much great information for Kris and I and our listeners.
No problem, man. Thank you guys, Kris and Denny, so much. And it was a pleasure discussing beer with you.
Okay.
Right.
And hope you guys have a great evening. And I hope to see some emails forwarded in the future. And looking forward to seeing anyone that can make it out to our place in the near future as well.
Awesome,
All right.
Wayne. Thank
Sounds
you so
great.
much.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Bye.
All right.
All righty.
What a great interview. I know we said we were going to keep him an hour, but since he wasn't at work, we were able to steal an extra half hour.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do a couple housekeeping things, and then we'll get off because I don't want to have too long of a show. Are you good with that, Kris?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what
let's just
housekeeping things you want to do?
The feedback and the voicemail. You got that voicemail I sent you
As soon as I
yesterday?
open my email.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with the feedback. There's some feedback that we received since the last episode, and feedback we received before the last episode that I missed from my. I'll start with the one I missed from my good buddy Alex Fuchs.
Oh yeah.
Who sent us an email saying, just listen to the Thanksgiving episode. This is, right after we did the Thanksgiving episode, like the day after. I guess I'm just that bad at reading email, and wanted to thank you on the mention in this episode. I appreciate the podcast and you very much, and happy we spend so much, quote, virtual time together. Even Spotify acknowledges it, as Tap to Craft was placed first among the podcasts I listened to. Good thing it is categorized as health and fitness, which means we're doing something right.
Yeah,
Keep
it's
up
for
the
our
great
mental.
work. Yeah. And let's make the next year and let's make sure next year we meet for an actual beer. Cheers. All right. Well, thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. And I'm ready when you are.
For which?
For the, oh, crap. Sorry. I clicked
Hold
it
on.
way too early.
I got two more. Let me go through two more feedbacks here. We got Mr. Bill Schlemmer. He sent us an email. A couple hours after the podcast ended on December 8th, my unique check-in was 2,500, became check-in 24.99 due to a beer merger by Untapped.
Oh.
So my real check-in 2,500 was on the day of the show, which Kris also read. It was also a good beer, Double Grid by Hop Butcher. Untapped did have that right. I checked into a beer at a brewery before the brewery put it out on Untapped. Someone else put the beer into Untapped, and I used that check-in. A few weeks later, the brewery entered the beer into Untapped with a slightly different name, and I checked into that beer later, not realizing I had already checked into it. That's explaining what happened there. I'm only going to read this next line because the next one will go with our episode we do the XYZ breweries. Okay. But he said, my favorite W brewery is Weldworks, also a great brewery.
Good choice.
I've had 10 beers from them with an average rating of 4.35. That's a good rating right there.
That's a hell of a rating.
Some good beer. So thank you, Bill, for that. Oh, thank you, Alex, too, for your feedback, and for Bill. And the last one I'll read tonight is actually a couple emails combined into one from our buddy Eric Scotty Ward. He says, I joined the local homebrewers club and attended my first meeting this past week. I thought that being around people who have much more knowledge and experience at homebrewing would be good for my hobby. It's solid.
Yeah. Yep. Very good.
The next morning, I was looking at the group's Facebook page and saw a name. The name was Matt Griffo. I said to myself, I've heard that name before.
Oh, that guy.
I then went to the Tap to Craft Facebook page, and sure enough, Matt was there. I messaged him that I was Eric Scotty Ward. He probably didn't recognize because Eric Scotty Ward is not his real name. And we would need to chat the next meeting. Small world. There's a first email. Next email is, I got my Czech pills on tap. Remember we mentioned he had bought a side pour tap, and he was brewing up a Czech pills, and he got it on tap. He says, I must say this beer is spot on in taste and smell with a 3.7% ABV. Attached is my attempt at a schnit pour, mostly foam with a bottom layer of beer. And the photo was very nice.
I mean, it looked pretty. It looked really pretty.
It looked pretty. So I kind of went, your guys, if anyone's wondering what a schnit beer is, it has 2 parts beer, 3 parts foam, and 1 part empty space at the top of the glass. It's not as filling as a large beer, but more refreshing than a small beer. If you're eating hearty food like goulash or a burger, order a schnit. There you go. Schnit beer. Well, thank you, Eric, for sharing your finding Matt Griffo. Yeah, we mentioned Matt Griffo. He was on, he might be on right now still with us. He was on earlier, commenting in the Facebook feed.
Yeah.
But so you guys can go grab it. You guys, you know what? All three of you guys
all
should
three
go
of us really should. I mean, we're all basically 10 minutes away from each other.
All right. Well, guess what? We also had a voicemail. If you want to be like Robert, chew your beer. Yes, a name from the past. And leave us a voicemail. You can call us at 208-536-3359. Too many numbers? Yeah, 208-53. Oddly, leave us a voicemail just like Chew Your Beer did. So, Kris, why don't you go ahead and play that voicemail from Mr. Robert?
Ho, 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 ho. It's Santa Chew calling
Santa Chew
to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy Chew Year. Ho, 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 ho. What's up, boys? It's been a long, long time, Denny.
Yeah.
How you guys doing? Guys,
Great.
It's,
Doing great.
it's Robert, aka Chew Your Beer. You might even know me as Sponge Bobby's back in the video game era. I ran into you guys. I didn't run into you guys. I got a message on Untapped by Denny, and it brought back so many memories, man. Apologies. Haven't listened for a while, but I'm back on the horse. What had happened was, trying to make it quick, I started focusing more on local media in my area, LA, San Fernando Valley. So I kind of look for a lot of podcasts in my area so I can get that stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard when I think you're in the Midwest. So for me, you talk about delicious beers and I can't get them. So I kind of focused to San Diego, LA, a little bit of San Francisco. And I'm back though, man. I'm going to listen up again. I'm going to catch up a little bit, not go too far out. It's been a long time, so I'll probably start with November and work my way up to the end of the year. But just calling in to wish you guys a happy Chew year and a Merry Christmas from your homie, Santa Chew. All right, Vatos. Quick thing, I have a couple beers out that are in the market, Fantastico and Chocotazo. Chocotazo is being made in Fresno, and Fantastico is being made here locally in the A1A area code, A1A Brewery. So try to add a little traditions of my Latino heritage into these beers, and I collaborate with breweries. I'll catch up with you guys later. Enjoy these holidays with the family and delicious beers. All right, homies, I te watch you. Peace out, eh?
That was fantastic.
Orale, vato.
A blast from the past. Robert.
Chocotazo.
Yes. Now, did you get any chocolate?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a couple, different bottles of it over the years before Chew kind of left us in the dust. It's okay. We understand. He was focusing on local.
I get it, but damn, you don't have to throw him under the bus like that.
but he was pretty active early on in the show, so I'm sure Eric Scotty Ward probably heard all this comments and stuff from Robert Chew Your Beer, so he's probably familiar. But yeah, he sent a couple bottles of Chocotazo at different times. Of the first bottle he brewed when he did his wife bought him a time at the brewing area.
Yeah.
Like, you buy time, and he went and brewed a beer, and he brewed the Chocotazo, and he sent me a bottle of that original home brew he did, which was really good. And then he linked up with another brewery, Zach Brewing, I think, if I remember correctly, in the Fresno area. I believe it's in the Fresno area. And he brewed it on like a more commercial brewing and sent us bottles of that. That's what you had, I think, Kris, was the Chocotazo from that, which also was really good. So it's great that those beers are still out there so many years later. And now he has a Fantastico, which sounds great too. So Robert, you know what? Send us some beer. Fantastico. Sounds great. But
I'd have to get him in touch with my buddy Joe, who owns a flan company here in Florida. We could do a West Coast, East Coast collaboration.
Yeah.
Because Joe did a beer with Dade City Brew Works here in Florida. And I can't remember what it was called, but it was focused around his flan. Best flan I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Wow. Nice.
So good. But yeah, we'll have to tag them in a social media post or something.
Yeah, well, it is great to hear from you, Robert, and I'm so glad you're doing well. I have, when I see you, I do, comment and like stuff you're checking into Untapped. You don't check into Untapped as much as you used to, so when you do check in,
it's surprising.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it is nice. So thanks for the voicemail too. I really appreciate that. If you want to, be like Robert, leave that voicemail at 208-53-ODDLY. If you don't want to be like Robert, you want to be like Alex and Bill and Eric, you can send us an email at taptocraft@gmail.com, or you can leave us comments on Facebook at facebook.com/taptocraft. Keep in mind, we also have a Discord server at taptocraft.com/Discord if you want to be part of our community and just interact with our other listeners there. We do have an upcoming guest coming on January 20th, another guest. This last guest was a surprise one. We didn't tell you about it. We kind of hinted at we might have someone, but guess what? We had Wayne Wambles, so that was fantastic. But we're going to have Tractor Brewing out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, on our next episode on January 20th. So be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to go ahead and now we're going to end this show. We're going to skip over the Untapped to Craft and the new and noteworthy. Although I have five cap beers on my new and noteworthy, we'll have to wait till next time because we've already talked long enough. And Kris has none on his list.
That's because I didn't put them on there, but you know what? This is one of them.
That's good, huh? Spirit Animal.
That's so damn good.
It was good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. But
thank you.
Let's go ahead and raise a glass, Kris. So who would you like to raise a glass to tonight?
So I would love to raise a glass to Wayne Wambles. Thank you so much for hopping on with us this evening. Go check out everything that they're doing over in Western North Carolina, Griffon and Sphynx. I'm not going to try to spell it, but if you can't find it, check out our notes on the podcast.
On the podcast, yes.
Or we've tagged them on stuff. Good. If his beers are half as good as they were here, damn. So I'm sure that
I can't imagine him not being good.
And but from what he's saying that he's doing all these little steps that he's taking, it made me smile so big when he said, "Oh yeah, I don't want to use cans. I want to use bottles because it's a smaller space that the that the beer is sitting exposed, and if there's not foam up at the top, well, I'm going to tap on that bottle and make it foam up to push all that oxygen
out. Push it out, yeah.
Those little tiny steps. I say this to people all the time in dog training. Little adjustments make big differences.
Yeah.
And he's making a lot of little adjustments here that are making a huge difference in the quality of his beer. So cheers to you, Wayne. Thank you again for the time.
Yes, for sure.
And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to this evening?
Well, I raised my glass to Wayne. I couldn't say any better than you did, Kris. Great interview, great knowledge. I really appreciate him coming on and chatting with us. Patreon toast tonight goes to Eric Scotty Ward. Yes, cheers. Thank you for your patronage. We really appreciate it. And my next toast goes out to Robert, Chew Your Beer Melendez. Thank you, Robert, for sending us a voicemail. We love voicemails, and I hope you do start listening again because we do offer something a little different than what you might get in the LA area. So enjoy us.
Good to hear your voice, man.
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice. And of course, being a former serviceman, I want to raise my glass and thank all those who have served and are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. Thank you for your service, and we hope all those who are deployed are able to return home safely to their families very soon. And Kris, I don't think Tin Tackers is our sponsor anymore, but you know what? Let's go ahead and raise one final glass to Tin Tackers.
I will, with a little bit of extra. I got an email from them today.
Yeah.
Did you? A new special. How did she put it? New tacker that they put out, and it was really cool. It was a Donkey Kong looking character driving a boat for a brewery called Ape Ship Brewing.
You're going ape ship?
Yeah, they said we're going bananas over this new limited tacker. Yeah, it's a Donkey Kong looking character riding on a boat from Ape Ship Brewing Company, and just the name. God, I almost want to tag them and just be like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about your beers too." So check out the folks over at Tin Tackers, the provider of sweet metal beer signs that will make your walls happy. Tin Tackers has a vast selection of embossed aluminum beer signs, perfect for your garage, home bar, or man cave. They have the biggest selection with the best prices. They also have a mini Tacker of the Month club, a club just for craft beer lovers who collect tin tackers. A surprise in your mailbox every month. Go visit their website at tintackers.com and use the promo code TAPTHECRAFT at checkout to save 10% on your entire order and to let them know we sent you.
All right. And you can find the beers and the links to Griffon Sphynx on the show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. I'm talking slow right now.
You got it.
It is last call. Thank goodness. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you For downloading and listening, we ask you to please tell a friend and, of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.